This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Since we've spoken to you about Red Rock Resources. So, let's kick things off. Let's talk about the DRC. Give us a bit of an update of where things are on the DRC front.
We're waiting for the judgment on the appeal on the costs and damages of $2 million on our case there against BEP. And it's been, I think, about 3 weeks since the last hearing, which was just a hearing to present the originals of documents. Because up till then, we've had lawyers appearing in Lubumbashi rather than flying them from Kinshasa. We didn't have the original document, and before the judgment is rendered, original documents had to be shown. It was about a month for the judge then to write up the judgment. So any day now, we should be getting that. And then we've already got the $2.5 million judgment in respect of the first $5 million that was paid. That's a judgment against BEP. This judgment will be against BEP. And then the arbitration decision we are expecting, again, imminently. And that's for, we hope, $7.5 million. And some money will also be going to BEP, which means that BEP will actually have some value. Means that the other judgments from the courts start to have some value. But also importantly, getting these judgments then kicks off the next stage in our proceedings to recover the value lost by the asset being taken away.
Now, of course, we've spoken about this quite a few times, haven't we, Andrew? I know you've been out to the DRC to help try to expedite the process. Why is it taking so long?
Well, I think many people would not have gone out there as often as I have. Many people would have given up a long time ago. And I think if I were to go into all the detail, it would be a very long interview, and it wouldn't necessarily be useful information for shareholders. I just think people have to recognize that even in countries like the United Kingdom, legal proceedings and other arbitral proceedings can take a long time. There can be complexities, and that applies in Africa and in Congo too. Probably with bells on. And so people have to be a little bit patient. I know how difficult it is, how frustrating it is, but the frustration felt by shareholders are nothing compared with the frustrations felt by me. What keeps me going is the conviction that we are actually going to win this, and that when we do, that's going to be something not just good for us, but good for business, good for the Congo, and there's a great where you lead, a lot of people follow. And even in the Congo, a lot of people are following us and supporting us. All the good people coming out of the trenches and wanting to see Congo prosper, wanting to see foreign investment. There's an unbelievable wave of support for us in our position, and that will be shown shortly.
Okay, so you are confident that the Red Rock will win this case. When will you get paid? And when even will you get paid? Is it possible that the money can actually be sent to you?
Well, as I said, for VEP to pay us, they have to, or someone has to, or they have to be holding money, or someone has to be holding money on their behalf. I won't go further into that issue. But obviously the arbitration unlocks $15 million, of which we expect 7.5 to come to us. Now, since that is funds held by the state mining company, which gets a lot of revenues and which sold on this asset for a great deal of money, they have never been any doubt that they have to pay this money. They are holding it. They have said that they will pay it upon the rendering of an arbitration decision to the parties that they then will be told to pay it to. And so we'd expect the payment to be prompt in a way.
Okay. Well, let's talk then about some of the other projects. And Elephant Oil, of course, you were always quite bullish about that, weren't you? And they're getting some value from Elephant Oil. So again, what's going on here?
Yes, because we are not in control of the Elephant Oil listing process. And that's a small mercy because the listing process in any way tends to be rather a painful one, but it was a lot of work. It's difficult. But those people are led by Matt Lofgren that are doing the listing of Elephant Oil. They, I think, were let down by poor accountants that were taking too long to produce updated quarterlies, and that created some delays. What's happening at the moment is I actually am probably a little bit inside on what is going on, and I know that they have traded time to some degree for economic benefit for something that they think they can do that will increase the value of the listing and that is sufficiently worth doing to cause a very, very, very small delay in the listing process. And maybe they go down that route, they're investigating it. Having been told a bit about it, I think that that was the right decision for them to make. And we will see how things go from here. But I think they're in a very good position, a very good company, and it's going to get better. And we had an interest in this asset for several years in the Benin asset. And we got that interest, and some people told us we were wrong, because very good petroleum geologists have looked at this, and they're doing due diligence for another company, and have told us this is a really good asset and eventually become good and scale. And we have stuck with it. And I think with the valuation range being spoken about for Elephant Oil, our judgment is vindicated. Of course, we can only prove that once it actually gets listed. But within the next month or two, we'd hope to see some progress on that. It does mean that, once again, there's a little bit of delay, and that's frustrating for us, because one of the things we've always liked to do as a company is have one or two investments getting listed, about to get listed, or where we sold interest in exchange for shares. That would therefore be a pool of liquidity that would support our other operations and would be available in case of need. And we did expect Jupiter, which we did have, and Juno, which we did have, and some Power Metal Resources shares, which we did have, to be replaced sometime last year by listed holding in Elephant Oil. And so that hasn't happened yet, and we're waiting for it to happen.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for that. Now let's move on to Australia then. Of course, there is activities going on at the moment, aren't there? That's your joint venture with Power Metal Resources, who you just mentioned. So that's, I recall last time that we spoke, you were very excited about this being back on the ground, actually drilling again for gold in a new project. So what's the latest here?
Yes, well, in different jurisdictions, we have different issues. In, say, Kenya, we have political and a little bit of geological risk. In Congo, we only really have political risk, no geological risk in our views. There's only one category of risk, and we think we grant that off. In Australia, we have some geological and a little bit of regulatory risk, so that's two kinds of risk. We do like Victoria. Obviously, the level of geological knowledge of that area is high, skill sets high, and there are other people doing drilling at the same time. And there's a new wave of exploration of Victoria, which is really seeing the only real advances in understanding and in mining of different kinds of deposits since the original gold rush in the 19th century. So we're not at late stage, we're early stage in the exploration there. We've done some drilling. We'll be announcing the results of that shortly. That's in our joint venture, Power Metal Resources. And what we are drilling for there is structure, or you might say to validate the model that we have shown online and on our websites. And to validate that model is the key thing. With a relatively small drill program, you can't expect to get to identify a bonanza zone straight away. You get some good grades in the course of your drilling, but you won't. If you're doing a sort of 1,000-meter program or a couple of 1,000-meter program, that's going to not give you the same results as a 30,000-meter program. But the market doesn't give small companies the budgets to do really large drill programs that they perhaps like to do. I think we're going to come out with some very good results from Australia, because I think we've identified correctly the structures that are there. That will be, people should be looking there to see whether we have validated the structures that we've identified, that they're actually there, that we've got the geology right, that we've got the structure right, and that we're getting the grades that show mineralization. And from that, over a series of programs, you build up what you hope will eventually be a 5-7 gram per ton mine. And so I think the way you do things step by step in Australia is different from other places, and it's a good balance to have that asset, of course, at the right time. We want to see that independently listed, probably. That's still our idea. But so far, listed gold stocks have not performed perhaps as might have been expected given the movement in the gold price. But if the situation is not bad in terms of the market, the results are coming through. And we feel the need in a market that is not super bullish for gold just at the moment, to be prepared to list, say, or to do a transaction in a market which is not ultra bullish for gold. And that means that you have to have done a bit more work, you have to have added some value, and you have to have something that has legs where people can see several stages of exploration ahead, what you're going to be doing and how you're going to reach production. And I think the team there has done a very good job. And we'll come out with an announcement very shortly that I think will, and hope will please everybody.
Well, let's hope so. But it's nice to know that the results are due to come out in the near term, because, of course, drilling results from gold projects is always exciting for both the company and investors. So we can hopefully await them in the near future.
We had some initial tests done at the laboratories in Ballarat, and then nuggety gold. So we had to decide what we were going to do to make sure that our results were as representative as possible, rather than either catching or not catching the nuggety areas. And so we have gone back and done some further test work, and we think it's right to come out with the results of the whole drill program together. Now, anybody who's followed DCR may have seen that a year or so ago, they did a bit of drilling, tested a half core, then went back and retested it. I think the other half core, I can't remember, maybe it was quarter core. They retested, and they got a quite different set of results. Why? Because in each little segment of core being cut up and sent off, one quarter might contain a bit of gold, visible gold or nugget of gold, the other might not. So you get different results. And so they did that in 2 separate exercises. The first one originally, and then they went back a few months later and said, I wonder, and sent the rest off, and then came out with that. We have, in a sense, telescoped that process into one process, and we'll be announcing the results of that one process.
Excellent. Okay, so we can finish off by going around to Africa, can't we? And let's start with Zimbabwe, Andrew.
Yes, and we're getting an EIA. We've got an EMP, Environmental Management Plan. We've got a pipeworks plan filed. I think the last element that was being put in place there was the community side of it. That's the chiefs, the police, and everybody like that, going around and talking to everybody and getting their signatures, and that has to be the last element of the EIA. That slots into place and as a completed EIA, and then very quickly you get that back. With the EMP, you can do some test production, but it wouldn't be terribly useful to do that because you'd be bringing in equipment, some of it on a daily rate, and you would not have perhaps enough. You'd be exceeding the limits of what you could process before you got your EIA. So it's sensible to wait for the EIA and then to start your production. And so that's the stage we're at. I'm waiting for my Zimbabwe visa at the moment. Looking forward to getting out there in the course of my next trip, and we'll progress that as quickly as we can. There are, of course, obstacles that people slight delays in Zimbabwe, particularly when one's new to the country. For example, the foreign exchange aspect, and you have to work your way around that and see how to do it. I think we've made in the relatively short period of time, a huge amount of progress. There's a lot of organizations still to be done, and we're working on it as we approach 0 hour when production will start. So there's that in Africa. Then we've got the gold exploration, of course, in Kenya and in Burkina Faso and in Ivory Coast. And Kenya, the licenses come up for renewal this year. We are like to go to Kenya. These are important because any of them can produce big discoveries. In Kenya, we have got the nucleus of what could be a very large deposit. And it needs, again, like Australia, it needs quite a bit of money spent on it. Now, why do we have all these different assets? Well, partly because you start a horse race not knowing which horses are going to win or come good, and partly because we have been anticipating for some time that there would be a positive result from Congo, and that would propel us back to where we ought to be. Because remember, if we still had that Congolese asset, which is essentially stolen from us, that is an asset worth many hundreds of millions of dollars, and we had it. And so the scale of our other things, like Kenya, was all built around the last 4 years, around the scale of what we thought the total company size would be, including Congo. We're going to get back there in various ways quickly, but we need to have money to deploy in order to advance our assets as we wish to advance them, and to keep our overheads proportionate to the company's size so that we are not putting a burden on shareholders by raising money. We've tried to avoid it. We're in an unusual situation as a company in that everybody knows that something may be about to happen that would greatly increase the value of the company, and that having been done, another event would happen, which would be another step change, orders of magnitude success. And so with these two stages of events in anticipation, the company is structured so that it can be a big company, so that it has really good assets. And some of them we've been just saying, well, these are in the drawer for now. They're not being, because the early stages of exploration are quite cheap. Then when things take a year longer, you're getting nearer the stage where you really have to start spending money on them. So we have to push. The next few months are going to be quite critical.
Okay, the next few months are going to be quite critical. Well, I look forward to seeing how that develops, Andrew. I mean, you talk about having a few projects and having lots of horses in the race, but are you particularly backing one particular project or flogging a particular horse a bit harder than the others, or are you treating them all equally?
What happens is when you have a project that you can take all the way through, go gangbusters with, you probably do that. And then the other things fall away, are either given lower priority or sold or joint ventured or whatever. But until you know you've got something you can carry through to production and make a lot of money from, a lead project that is really going to go all the way, then you have to have some options open. And when your ability to define something as a lead project is dependent to some degree on court or regulatory decision making in the country, which is not always 100% clear, then you have to be balanced so that you're ready for anything. And I think we want to do that. We don't want to give away the greatest opportunity that we'll have for a long time. Maybe coming to us a couple of opportunities in Congo, one the historic one something that may come our way. Because in the course of running a small company, and as you know, a large number of small companies in Canada, in the United Kingdom, South Africa, and Australia, not many of them ever get a big project that's going to be a company maker and create a lot of value. And if you think you have your hand on one of those, and you may get complete control of it, then of course, you don't want to give that away. You want to make sure that you hang on to it for grim death as a bulldog until the moment comes when the trap's open and the race is on. Not that that's mixing metaphors a bit, because I'm not sure you have bulldog race.
Okay, well, excellent. Thank you for all of that update. Andrew Bell, the CEO there of Red Rock Resources.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of what I'm doing next, I'm flying off to Kenya and anticipating from there to be going to Congo. Then I hope we'll be able to head on 1 or 2 days in Zimbabwe for that. So it's going to be some hard work, but I hope very productive.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.